from the past.
Took that job seriously.
Okay, you ready?
I'd like to call this meeting of the Princeton City Council to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Mabry.
Here.
Councilmember Newman. Gomez.
Here.
McCall.
Here.
And Selesky.
Here.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to go ahead and start our meeting with public comment. The public comment is available at the beginning of the meeting as well as at the end. If you'd like to speak to the council, we'd like to have you limited to 3 minutes if possible. All you have to do is come up and state your name at the microphone. Again, you have 2 opportunities now and at the end of the meeting. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead now and we're going to go to our presentation from Michael Ziering, our Economic Development and Zoning person.
Thank you. So within the past month, I have been to 2 different economic development related events, and I just wanted to kind of report back on what I learned, what I saw, things like that. So the first one was October 9th. It was in Chicago. Morgan Manufacturing was the name of the place it was at. It was called ICSC at Midwest, so it was a smaller version of a bigger conference that they put on every year in Las Vegas, which is the International Council of Shopping Centers. A lot of what's there is brokers, landlords, people that own land, and then also the businesses. There's lots of gas stations that attend, chain restaurants, things like that. We were there just trying to get our name out there, let people know that we have land, where we're at, what type of utilities we have in-house, what our rates are, things like that. We found we were pretty alone in the group of municipalities that are out walking around trying to introduce yourselves. Really, if a municipality is there trying to get themselves established, get themselves on the map, for these retailers, they're setting up a booth. Talked to Kankakee for a while. They spent $10,000 on their booth. They had 3 staff members there. They're really making a push, trying to get their land, their landlords to fill their slots with these businesses. Businesses that I met, Quick Trip, also Quick Trip, but in Illinois, they're going under Quick Star. Thornton's, Jersey Mike's, Huck's, Wawa, lots of other ones. I think my main takeaway here is that without an incentive package put together, something that has kind of been a taboo word around here, it's tough because a lot of people will talk to what can you do for us? What can if I expect to locate there, can we share sales tax? And I basically would just tell them I'm not the decision maker on that. Let's touch base in a little while and maybe we can come up with something. But there was some really good panels and speakers, and so I wanted to share some of the quotes that I took away. So one panel that had 4 developers up there, that these businesses that will buy a plot of land and they'll work with the city on building multi-use developments with residential up top and then more of your office or your retail space below. So I just thought some of these were really interesting. One said it starts and stops with municipal partnership. So if you're not a place that's easy to do business with, you're not going to come and meet the developers where they are. A lot of times they can walk away to one of the other several hundred municipalities that they're interested in. Residential lights the wick, I also thought was very interesting. A lot of these developers don't want to do something unless they're shown that there's going to be people right there on site, living, working, that are contributing to these businesses. We go where it's easy to do business. I thought that was really interesting. That again, it's about relationships, and they want to know that if they come to you with an ask, that you'll at least meet them in the middle. You'll be willing to hear them out, compromise with them. And the built environment is more important now than it ever has been. I think this was more of an extension off of the talk about people coming back to work after COVID and how people, especially with remote workers, they have options of living anywhere they want to now and continuing their same job. So when you look at the built environment, such as streetscape, recreation, things like that, those are really important to economic development and getting people to come and live in your community and attract people. So the other one was the Basic Economic Development course, October 20th through the 23rd. This was at Nicor Gas headquarters in Naperville, put on by SIUE. It's a CU accredited course, and the moderator of the whole course was Patrick Hoban, who is the Economic Development President and CEO of Bloomington Normal Economic Development Corporation. So every day he would lead off with a short lesson on kind of some things he's learned, or he really got us engaged and speaking about different issues in our communities and strengths and weaknesses, and a lot of what the other people had to say really resonated with me. So that was just a good takeaway, is that a lot of other communities are facing similar issues to us. And then I'll just get into a little bit about who we saw and what kind of day by day how it went. So we learned about strategic planning, ethics, board management, and staff management. A lot of the people in the room were economic development professionals who are employees of an EDC, and they have boards and staffs who give them their orders. And so a lot of what we learned on the first day was about board and staff management, ethics, of course. Ethics was really interesting because I suppose some of these things can get a little hairy, I guess, when it comes to making deals and things, and they want to make sure that you're very transparent and you have the community's best interest in mind with every decision you're making. I also just wanted to illustrate that this course isn't put on by a professor that is necessarily just someone who teaches it. A lot of what you'll see here are the logos of the different professionals that taught the course. Just kind of highlighting that these are people who practice this field day to day, and it was very interesting to hear, their wins, their losses, their strengths, their challenges, things like that. Day 2, real estate development principles. Drew Mitchell, that was a really interesting presentation. He is with Holiday Properties, a major developer in Indiana and otherwise. He told us exactly what he's looking for when he comes to town. He wants to know that the money that they're going to put forward is going to yield them profit, and you've got to prove that with data. And you have to say, we have this many residents making this much money who can pay this much amount of rent, and the housing market is so competitive, and you'll be able to fill up these units. So that was very practical when he taught us there. Workforce development, that was another really interesting thing that I think when we think economic development, we don't always think about. You want a business to come, but are there going to be workers to support that business? Are you building houses for those workers to live in if they were to locate? So, one thing that I think was really evident throughout this whole training is that there's so many elements of economic development, and you really need to be making baby steps on them every single day. You need to be pushing each one of them forward, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. Day 3, business retention and expansion. Doug Pryor was great. He talked a lot about how within his Will County EDC, they visit every year. They make a goal to visit every single one of their businesses, whether that's him or a staff or someone else. Listen to them, hear what they need, hear their challenges, the strengths, the things that are going well, and see what you can do to help them, more or less. We all know about Gardner Denver closings. Maybe if we had been doing some more of this in the past, that we could have heard them out and maybe been able to bridge that gap, make it make sense. So last Monday, actually, Jenica and I went and visited ACE. We met with their senior leadership. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page with them. And for the most part, it sounds like they're very happy here in Princeton. Just put $10 million into their roof, so things are going well for them. Small business development, again, advocacy. They had some lobbyists there teaching us about at the state level, how some of these laws that are getting enacted really can hurt or attract businesses to our state in general. Day 4, financing small and large businesses. We heard from the IFA, which is basically a bank that helps gets these large businesses, helps them bridge the gap, gets them funding to do these major projects. And then marketing. We heard from Illinois EDC, which is, I don't know if anyone ever heard of Intersect Illinois. They've rebranded to Illinois EDC. So we got to meet some of the main players there and how they're marketing our state and what they have up their sleeve to help us out. So the takeaways. It's very broad. We need to, as we set our programming for what we want to work on, there's a lot of things we need to work on. I wouldn't even say that this list covers everything, but we have to find out, a way to get people to build houses. We have to bridge the gap for a housing developer to make it make sense for them. We've got to be working on our workforce. I mean, we talk vocational education, we're talking apprenticeship programs and things like that. We need to be, whether it's us doing it or we need to be pushing for other entities to be doing these things. Site readiness, of course. Business retention and expansion, again, going out, listening to your businesses, hearing what they need to expand, what they need to stay. Business attraction, again, more site readiness, making sure that your sites are, all the information that anyone needs can be there. And that's one thing we put together for ICSC is a lot of these property flyers that had, here's where our municipal rates are, here's if they're in a enterprise zone or a TIF district, all that information that they might need. One thing that Patrick Hovind really harped on was the economic development is relationship and information field. So the more data you have that can back up your claims that your city is going to be able to support a business or not, it is really going to go a long way for you. Also just building relationships. Out here, we talk a lot in our small economic development group about getting out and talking to businesses. And I think this is can be a team effort. Anytime we interface with a business, with a resident, make sure you're asking them the questions of, are you happy doing business in town? What things, what are your challenges? And if we're going to be very strategic we need to be very strategic about our economic growth. We can't build a bunch of houses without a businesses coming in to support those houses and vice versa. And I also, it really needs to be a concerned or concentrated effort between all of our public bodies, residents included. Everyone needs to have input. Everyone needs to know what the goal is. Right now, I just wanted to touch on some current efforts and kind of where we're at, where we want to go. We put together a small committee that's been meeting monthly. One of our first steps was to release a community survey. So, Beth, if you want to get that in there, get that out for us. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we're going to run this till the end of the year. We're really looking to get some feedback from the community. We're also going to keep doing our business retention and expansion visits. A month ago or so, you heard from Hometown Consulting. We passed a resolution to go ahead and work forward with them. I do have a meeting with them tomorrow to kind of kick it off, but they're going to help us get organized. They're going to organize our GIS for our outward-facing and inward-facing. So when I say outward-facing, I mean if a developer comes to our website, they're going to say what land's for sale, what's the price point, who's the owner, who's the contact. They're going to organize all of those things into one place. It's also going to have overlays that show TIF districts, enterprise zone, potentially business development district, things like that. They're going to help us develop our incentive package, what we can offer to someone who wants to come. And they're going to help us understand if we invest that money, what's the return going to be? Is it going to be worth it? Where do we set that benchmark so that it is worth it for us? And they're going to help us with a strategic action plan, including housing, incentives, new business startup guide, and just help us guide us to be making data-driven decisions. So I'm really excited about our partnership with them. I think we're going to see a lot of growth around here in the coming months, and that'll be a good partnership. And I just wanted to leave you guys with some questions to consider. How do we build more houses? I don't have the solution for everything, but these are things we need to be thinking about all the time. What are other communities doing? What makes sense for us to replicate here? How do we attract businesses? How should we support our existing businesses? And how do we develop a skilled workforce? I think all of these are big questions that don't have one answer, but they need to be part of a larger discussion when we talk economic development.
Marvel, do we have a list of contractors, or maybe the chamber does, I don't know, anything like that we could meet with as a whole when we're talking housing and whatnot? Because that's obviously, Ray, you'd be the expert on this. There's just not a lot of contractors around anymore. They've kind of retired out, I guess. And what areas do we need to reach to outside of Princeton to try and bring those contractors here to build houses too? And also the land, obviously, we talked about that before too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That might just be something to think about.
Yeah, and if it's putting a landowner in touch that has a price in mind
right.
with a builder, and that's the only missing link, and we just don't know that,
mm-hmm.
but if that's something we need to do, then yeah.
To go along with that, Mike, the new home being built in Park Place is being built by a contractor from Geneseo.
So it'd be great, I've met him, but if Michael could reach out, meet him, and he'll give you a report card how we're doing as far as the friendliness of
Sure.
dealing with Princeton.
Sure.
I think he's very happy, but you need to hear that from him, and he needs to meet you.
Absolutely.
So
We've met. Yeah, we've met.
you have,
Yeah.
But there's a situation where the homeowner in Princeton could not find a Princeton contractor to build a house.
Yeah.
They had to go to Geneseo, so they retired out, and the ones that are still there are so busy, they just, they're just 2 years out.
That's your question.
Something I can talk to you about a little later, but where do I find the community survey?
It's on our Facebook page as well as our website. It's on the Chamber's Facebook as well.
We have a number of what we've received on those yet? How many we've received?
I don't have an updated number since last meeting. We were over 200 residents, over 30 businesses, and I think we had, businesses wasn't that high, I don't think.
About a dozen.
Yeah, and then
But we
visitors.
had quite a few visitors.
Visitors was like over 40. We wanted to continue through the holidays, hoping
Mhm.
that we can get people coming into town from the holidays to give us some feedback. Lastly, I just wanted to thank you guys. I mean, this training is sponsored by the city. I learned a lot. I hope to continue learning a lot. There's a lot of other courses that can be taken, and I found this one really beneficial. So thank you.
Any questions from the council? Any comments from the council?
Thanks for going these things, both you and Jenica. I was been very involved in this too. So the ultimate goal is to just get better, right, as a city and what we're doing. So I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Michael's going to give us a report after the mayor's comments about something else that kind of dovetails into that. So, very good. Okay, let's go down to the minutes, approval of minutes from the October 20th meeting, please.
Move that we approve the minutes from the regular council meeting on October 20th, 2025.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any questions or comments from the council concerning those minutes? If not, clerk call roll.
Councilmember Gomez,
Aye.
McCall,
Aye.
Gillespie,
Aye.
and Mayor Mabry.
Aye. Now we'll go to invoices with City Clerk Janet Henning.
In the Department of Accounts and Finances, we have $97,090.29. The Department of Streets and Public Improvements, $239,078.07. Department of Public Safety, $314,521.19. And the Department of Public Property and Utilities, $452,337.64, with a grand total of $1,103,027.19. Mayor, all council members present have confirmed the reviews of all the invoices, and they're now submitted for disposition.
Move that we approve the invoices as presented.
Second.
We have motion second concerning those invoices. Any questions or comments from the council concerning those? Seeing none, clerk call roll.
Councilmember Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Gillespie.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. Thank you. Now on to the ordinance, please.
Next on the agenda, we have ordinance O-25-015, authorizing the execution of the RMA minimum maximum contribution agreement. This is the second and final reading.
Move that we approve ordinance 0-25-015.
Second.
Motion and second, and this again is the second reading, and Teresa explained to us what that was about. If you have any questions, we could have her re-emphasize that. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and vote on that, please. Let's go ahead and vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Gillespie.
Aye.
Mayor Mabry.
Aye. Very good. Now we're down to the city manager report. Teresa, please.
In your packet, you'll have the summary on this, but just a reminder, holiday garbage schedule with Veterans Day coming up on November 11th, which is a Tuesday. Tuesday garbage will be picked up on Wednesday, November 12th, which is not a recycling week. Wednesday garbage also will remain the same. Just make sure your items are out early, because they will start early on Wednesday. Also, I think I had put this in your guys' update as well last week, cemetery decoration removal. After November 15th, city crews will begin removal of any remaining summer and fall decorations from the City of Princeton cemeteries. Please remove any summer and fall decorations you'd like to keep before November 15th. Winter decorations can be put out after November 15th. Lastly, the very last portion of your packet is the police pension report for September of 2025. Any questions?
Council, are we good? Very good. Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate that. Under the mayor's report, Tom Kammerer and myself, we had one of our first meetings. Well, I was invited to this meeting. I appreciate the group that got together and worked on the warming center last year that we feel was a success, and now they're planning the warming center again for this year in cooperation with Aruka. So go along with that, though, if you would, Tom, how about a quick update? Second Story's got a food drive coming up. If you could talk about that, please.
Tomorrow from 3 to 6, we're going to be having a food drive to help out Tri-County Food Pantry over at the parking lot of Second Story. So food donations, non-perishable stuff, and of course monetary, $1 donated buys $10 worth of food. Typically now the food pantries are going to be a little short-handed because of the government shutdown, so we're just trying to do what we can to help them.
Absolutely, being proactive, right? Appreciate that. And on the warming center, they're looking for volunteers, and they're out there looking for a person that is going to be an organization coordinator.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
They
expand
have
that.
a pretty good system down for how they do it. It's all electronic. I mean, when you have, I think we had, 80-something people express interest, 54 of us ended up volunteering, and we were able to track all that. You could see who was scheduled so that if there was a vacancy, you could maybe plug in a spot or whatever. But Tammy Langston's already got the skeleton built for all that, and so whoever decided they wanted to help out with that would already have that done. But yeah, we don't know what the numbers are going to be yet. Time will tell as the weather gets worse. We have not had as much dealing with folks camping and living on the streets as what we've had in the past, so maybe we won't have a need for it this year.
I was going to ask that, do you think the numbers are down a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're not getting the amount of calls we were, and you're not seeing it, like you used to.
What is the criteria on that warming center as far as temperature? Does it have to reach a certain point?
Well, we had a date last year. I think it was right after Christmas or thereabouts, and then it went through March. But if it was below freezing, obviously, I mean, there were some nights where we only had 1 or 2 people were in there, but there were also times when there were 7 or 8, if the weather was extremely cold.
So it's open from a certain date, no matter what the temperature is?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there was a couple nights where nobody showed up, correct, Ray? They usually know by about 10 o'clock.
Right, and then they basically shut it down. They put a little note on it that it's closed for the evening, so people can go home. They don't have to volunteer and sit there overnight without.
Yeah, I was never there for the beginning. I was always there the last part of it, but they would vet them through the living room so that they'd already been checked, they'd done their laundry and all that kind of stuff. So it's really kind of hands off, other than just observing if you're a volunteer and listening to stories and stuff too.
Yeah. And they get up a lot, up and down. They're a restless group at times.
They can be.
They can be, but a lot of success stories that came out of that.
Very much so.
So it's very worthy, and hopefully we can convince the council to just try it one night as far as volunteer. We sure appreciate it. You get a sense of what's going on in our community. And a lot of them are local people. I'm talking local within Princeton, or these are not people going off the interstate. No. These are people we know, and we know their families. Very good.
And the volunteers you'll know too. I mean, that was.
Yeah.
There wasn't a night I worked I didn't know somebody in. So.
And the love that Tammy Laxton showed, holy smokes, and some of these folks that would be a regular, they just would hint that, man, I'd like to have some chicken noodle soup, and man, the next night she had chicken noodle soup there. She did. She really took care of those folks in an act of love. And her husband, the same thing, for a lot of hours, and so we appreciate that. Thank you, Tom. Michael Zering, you're going to come up and we're going to just go over this real quick. You did a good job in your presentation. Now we're going to talk about, so the council can get up to date too, and we're not going to mention specific addresses, but let's talk about when we have these distressed properties that are owned by sometimes people from out of the area, and how you've been handling those since you've been with us now for a little over a year, right?
18 months.
18 months. We appreciate it. So you've been wrestling. Yeah, you've been wrestling with these properties. Some of them have been blighted for a long time, but tell us the whole process, how it works, and where you're at with. Again, we're not mentioning the specific locations, but just if we could, what you got going on with those properties, please.
Usually, the way we kind of identify a property that is in need of further code enforcement action beyond just like a fine. It's usually when we identify that someone, no matter what we do, ordinance violation wise, is not going to come to the table. They're not going to maintenance their property. Or maybe it's a situation where just no one really even cares for this property. There's lots of abandonment situations. One we have right now, there was animals getting into it all the time. Our animal control officer was there weekly, taking raccoons out, taking things out. And so, if someone's been there, like animal control for a year, doing that, they can identify, well, no one's here, living here, what's going on here? The brush is growing up, the grass is growing up. So, we'll get in touch with the owner. In this case, it was the heir to an owner, and they said, well, we want nothing to do with the property. It was our parents, they're gone, we don't want it, we never wanted it. So, then we elevated to our attorneys who help us with a demolition claim.
And right now, you've got 2 properties that you've gotten, and the correct terminology is when you get permission from the courts, it's called a what?
Demolition order.
Demolition order. Okay. And then at that point, the property gets tore down, and let's say, for example, the house on Euclid, North Euclid would be a good example of that whole process, right?
Sure.
We went ahead and it was tore down in-house, so to speak. It was done by the street department.
Yeah.
And then you go ahead then and file a claim then for ownership of the property.
Yeah. Typically, you take your expenses throughout the process. You file that as a lien. You foreclose on that lien to, correct me if I'm wrong, John. Foreclose on that lien, and then you could gain ownership if no one pays off that lien.
And we have the property appraised after it's been demoed and the lot cleared off, and then we can sell the property for the appraised price less up to 20%, correct, on those properties?
80% of the appraised value. Yeah, that's right.
So we have 2 properties that Michael could talk to you about offline, the specific locations, but those are the properties that are in that process now. And as we drive by those properties, we would all agree on this council, we don't want to live next door to those properties. They're just, that's how badly they are blighted. And so it's going to be a positive effect that we're going to have for the neighborhood, those neighbors that are trying to keep their properties looking good. So
Absolutely.
So there we go. Any questions about that process? And Michael work on that? Good.
I was going to say, maybe when the property is sold, or the land, somebody come in and actually build a nice home.
We could certainly have that latitude. If we had a plot of land and someone came to us and said, I'd like to buy it, we could say, well, we're only looking to sell to someone who's going to build within a year or something like that. I mean, we can be, as the owner afterwards, we have the latitude to do something like that. Yeah.
And the one on Washington Street that we just sold, we found the neighbors on each side wanted to split the lot, so we had a little hybrid situation, but it ended up going back in the tax rules. So, any other comments or questions of the council? Otherwise, Michael, we appreciate your efforts on those.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go now to old business. Is there any old business to come before the council this evening? Is there any new business to come before the council this evening?
I have something, right?
Sure.
E-bikes and stand-up e-scooters. I think that we're approaching the time for an ordinance for some of those. I know that the e-bikes come in 3 different classes. They can reach up to 28 miles an hour. Stand-up scooters, 2 classes. I don't think either one of them can be on state routes, and they shouldn't have to be on sidewalks. And I just don't think there are. Pedestrians should have to compete with this, especially up in the business district. We see them up in the business district, so I think we're getting close to the point of approaching an ordinance for those.
I agree. Now, Tom, do you have anything the state is going to be putting on that or not? State of the line?
They have some laws out there that are a bit confusing, and we talked about trying to sort of distill our ordinance to a point where it's really easy to enforce. I know Michael and I have talked about some other process improvements that we could do that would help with that.
Good. So, Don, would look at maybe revisiting this again in another 30 days? Could we do that? And you're going to do a little more work on that, some homework on that?
We're collecting some of the various communities that have already done the ordinances, so we can kind of look at those, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel if it's
Yeah, they vary kind of from
just like your TV ones.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would have a good starting point.
So we appreciate that. We borrow other communities that have been successful.
Hey, they borrow ours too, I
That's
found
right.
out.
It's a compliment. We don't need to reinvent that wheel. And, I appreciate you bringing this up. And council members, when you see something that concerns you, bring it up. If there's something of a positive nature, bring it up at a council meeting. The little scooters, today I saw 6 kids on those rascals, and man, they just go everywhere. They don't stop at stop signs. They're on the sidewalk. They're on the street. They're everywhere. And these are, I'd say, young people from 12 to 15. I mean, once they get their driver's license, it's probably not cool to be on a scooter, but
Was there something on one scooter?
there was 2 on one scooter. I saw 2 on one scooter.
That was illegal.
I think it's double.
Yeah. So we appreciate you bringing that up, and we know there's an issue, and then the e-bikes, holy smokes, we'll see those people, a lot of them, that's their sole transportation, and they're booking along about 30 miles an hour. They must have those cranked up.
Yeah, I don't think they carry any insurance either, for the most part. You know, you look at the ordinance that we have for golf carts and UTVs. You know, they have to be licensed. They can drive only so many routes. They have to have proof of insurance. And those are people that, for the most part, understand the rules of the road. So we need something for this. You just can't go wherever on it.
It's a free-for-all right now.
It kind of is.
It
kind of is.
Very good. Appreciate you bringing that up. You know, we're going to jump. I know Teresa brought this up. The street department has done a great job grinding those cracks in various places on the sidewalks on Main Street and other areas. And I want to thank them for that. If you would walk down Main Street now, man, on north and the south end, those business districts, they've got that really looking good. And so that's, as we have more and more pedestrians shopping in our community, we got darker evening hours, of course, we have Christmas shopping. So I appreciate the investment of time that the street department took, and they got a $20,000 grinding machine that has got a vacuum cleaner attached to it, HEPA vac, so it's catching all the debris and all the dust. That was something that the council approved through Teresa's budget, and that was money well spent. So kudos to the street department.
I saw the sidewalks. They do look very nice, and I think that's been done before, hasn't it, in the past? They did in the past. But
We did, but we had to rent it, so you had
Mhm.
a small amount of time to do whatever sections were identified.
Mhm.
So now, they were even out in some of the residential areas doing some of them, so we've got the ability to do that now.
No, that's going to be nice.
That's a win. We do appreciate it. We want to make sure our residents are safe and our guests. Very good. Any other new business for the council? Okay. Any public comment from anyone? Okay. If you don't mind, Michael, we're ready for a close.
I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting until the next regular meeting of the City Council being held on Monday, November 17th at 6 p.m. at City Hall.
Motion second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Walensky.
Aye.
And Mayor Mabry.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, what do you say?